What's up, everybody? Welcome to another live episode of the Modern Lending Podcast with me, Alec. And today's going to be fun. We're going to talk about digital, but in a whole new way, something that you're not even prepared for. A really good friend of mine, a guy I've known for almost like a decade plus now. We've worked out together. We've owned side businesses and side hustles together. I love this man as a human being. I want to bring on Rob Tavi, Tavicoli. Rob, you got so many different names. I got to figure you out. But this guy's the managing director at IBS electronics, and I want to have him come on and talk about what he does. But he went all digital in a totally different world, a totally different space than direct to consumer sales and mortgages, and it's totally radically transformed not only his business but the culture inside his company. I'm watching it on digital. It's amazing. And so let's bring on Sorab and let's talk about what going digital really does when you commit.
What's up, Alec?
I'm actually mad at you because somehow you got me on your podcast first, and I started podcasting first, and you beat me. But dude, Rob, okay, so much to talk about. But before we dive into all the fun stuff, dude, explain to everybody, what your business is, what you do. Like, give them the groundwork because I want them to understand who you are in your space.
Well, let me simplify it because as I always tell, we're a distributor of electronic components. I tell it to a lot of friends, but they're like, what do you sell? Cell phones, computers? What does that mean? Well, I'll simplify and break it down. We're basically into engineering, supply chain, logistics, and I'll categorize the components that we deal with into like 3 different categories. So we have the active components, which are semiconductors, all the chips we do. Then the passive components, which are, let's say, capacitors, resistors, and LEDs, all the stuff on the little PC boards. And then we get into the interconnects and electromechanical, which are all the switches, push button switches, connectors. So that, and then there's the hardware side, the screws and nuts. So we get into all of this of distribution and selling to the manufacturers. So the companies of industries we sell to is space, defense, aerospace, automotive, medical, consumer power. So all these gadgets and all this hardware we have has all these little components in it. So what we do is we supply that. We're a distributor, so we're kind of middle, represent manufacturers, and we have design teams, we have logistics teams globally, and we're heavily based out of Asia. We have about 10 offices of operations in Asia. We are headquartered for 40 years. It's a 40 years family-owned business. I'm the second generation in this company, and we've been really focused in the last, I would say, 30 years in Asia. So that's really, in simplifying, really what we do is we are the foundation and the hardware of all electronic gadgets that we use today.
So this is funny. You mentioned Asia, and I know you used to travel all the time. And of course, COVID just shut that down. Yes. And forced another complexity into your business because you were in Singapore and Philippines and China. I mean, you were everywhere.
I was traveling for 20 years since I really came to the company and started working, in my early 20s. Yeah. I was traveling to Asia. That's really where our bread and butter is. A lot, as you guys know, a lot of offshoring happened in electronics. A lot of things got design innovation happened in the States or in Europe, and it went to Asia, to China, to Southeast Asia production. So we would follow that and have boots on the ground and people on the ground to make sure the business, logistics, supply chain is there. And I would spend about 3 to 4 months of a year traveling over there. Before I was married with kids, and things have changed a little bit, but I would still travel. As you've known me for 10 years, hey, where are you going? Oh, I'm going to be in Singapore. Oh, I'm going to be in China this week.
Oh, no, I never knew where you were. You were always
you never knew where I was. And so I would spend a lot of time out there, and it was fascinating because I'm always in front of customers, always in front of manufacturers. You have to be where the business and the people are at, and our customers are there, right?
Yep. So then COVID blew that up, transformed the environment, transformed the world. And how did you, now you're so digital. So now you're running a podcast, you're having this great series, you're doing Real Talk, which is kind of even a more fun conversation inside your industry and out. And talk to everybody. Why did you do this change in your business and life? You were so relational, meeting people. That's how you did business. What made you make the change?
Well, let's start from breaking it down. Our business has been very successful in the Asia base. Even though we're a US-based company, 80% of our revenue is really driven from the Asia side. So about 3 to 4 years ago, we tried to expand the US bases. Who are we? And it's trying to build a presence from not really, everybody knew the brand name. Everybody knew us in Asia because we're in front of the customers all the time. But building in US was challenging for a few years, 3-4 years. I'm like, okay, what do we do? Go to trade shows, and there's a lot of gorillas out there. So how do we get in front of the people? How can I show I'm the David? There's the Goliaths out there. How can we build the branding? And starting about a year and a half ago, which I want to start with too, is I want to thank you, thank you, Alec, is what you have done. You've been a leader and you really influenced me and been a mentor of doing this. So about a year and a half ago, when you said, hey, why don't you go digital? Why don't you show everybody this is before COVID. This is about a year and a half ago. Why don't you go COVID? You're such an exciting life. You travel these places. Why don't you just put it on camera? Show what you do. Visit the factories and do this. So I started that. I started taking my iPhone and I'm like, I'll do a little presentation about what our company is. I started with that. Probably did 100 takes. I could not talk in front of the camera if my life depended on it. It's like
everybody else when they first start.
Oh my God, it was very challenging. So, I try to break it all down. It's like, how do I do this and put in the reps and put in things? So I kept, challenging myself and going through this process and making videos. And then I start traveling last 2019 and taking videos of the factories where I was with the team, just playing.
I remember in some of those videos that you would be in the factory or with the people and you'd have your camera on, you had your phone on, and you'd be introducing people to like somebody who was sitting in there and they were like, they were terrified that you walked in with the camera. But like you were like, I gotta imagine, like, what effect did that have on your employees who are international?
Oh, it built a lot of the branding, and it built the, as I said, you lead by example. And really it comes to be is like, everybody looked at me like, what is he doing? Why is he coming in with a camera? What does he have like vlogging? I have my iPhone with a little microphone on it, of the little stick and running around and, putting it on, like, what is he doing? I'm trying to, hey, everybody get in here. And as you know, most people are shy, like myself, to get in front of the camera. They think they look different on camera than in person, which doesn't make any sense because that was my challenge. I'm like, oh my God, my hair, my this, that, but we all look the same. So I started doing that and, doing a little documentary, and start making more videos and content and really putting in the reps, as you would say, trying to put out there and say, okay, how can I build this branding? And come COVID, as we come to COVID. So come the first Q1 of February, I was at a trade conference where I was trying to still build branding, right? I was trying to build who was IBS with all these top C-level people from all these companies that are hundreds of companies, much bigger than us, $100 million, billion-dollar companies. And how can I network with these people as this small company and build an image, build a brand?
Yes.
And we went in there. I was a little more outspoken than most people were. And I started videoing. That's where it first started.
Really?
I went to that conference and I never done it. I was nervous. Every day I did a recap of the show and through it. And let's go back to electronics industry. I give you a little people to are listening. The electronics industry is the bottom, but the demographic, yes, there is an older demographic. It's very heavily male based. There's about 80-20 split because it's engineering. We're the nerds and the geeks of developing and innovating all this stuff. So it is, you walk in there and everybody's wearing like, the suits, as you call the suit. And it's very, as a newcomer coming to this thing, it's very challenging. How do you get your space? How do you get the time to talk to people? Yeah. So all I did was I was the guy with the camera and I just started building. We're like, what's he doing? I put a recap. I put it on LinkedIn. All of a sudden, within that 24 hours, I had 2,500 views of that video of the first day and all the people that was within the. So I'm like, oh my God, because people start. I was like, what is happening?
That sounds like the aha moment when you realize, because you couldn't have met 2,500 people walking around inside that conference. And then you had 2,500 eyes on you recapping the day. That had to have been like oh crap, I found something here.
So I found that what I was doing is I was just meeting everybody. Many people, I could get their cards and I would just find them on LinkedIn and I'll link to all of them.
Absolutely.
And I link to all of them. I'm like, okay, they will see my stuff. They will see what's going on. And I can build that awareness by linking to them on a platform, even though I don't know them. We met, handshake, or what you're doing business. Oh, this person, hey, I really want to, schmooze with some of these top level people, but sometimes I don't have that time or they're always busy. So I'll just link up with them.
An event, right? You're just like shaking hands, like, oh yeah, nice to meet you. Can I get a card? And and you're out.
So started from there and I built some videos and then I took the risk and asked the president of the association who put on this whole, can I do a 15-minute interview with you? 5 questions, and I'm like, he's like, okay, I had a Bluetooth mic. I had my phone. I'm like, I had one of my, my marketing guys like,
dude,
to honestly guys, to everybody listening, I was so nervous. I couldn't even say, it's called Electronic Representative Association. I couldn't even say that. It was like, I was nervous. Again, guys, I was nervous. And I'm like, I just ended up saying ERA Association because I couldn't get it out. My heart was racing, my heart was pounding, but then that's just the experience. And I did that interview, 5 questions, 15 minutes, and I posted that, and I got a crazy amount of views again. And I started relating. People are like, who is this? Who is this guy? What's going on? What's he doing? And then COVID hit. Right, COVID hit, and that was the most challenging part. We didn't know, we're going, and through your friendship and what we're going, and what I've been seeing, what you've been doing, and staying with consistency, 100 videos, 100 days, building all this stuff, and showing up and being consistent. So I said, you know what, I want to go all in. We're going to take some of our trade show budget because we have no trade shows this year. We're going to build a studio, and I'm just going to build content, and I'm just going to go for it. And that's from that aspect, I start building content. Of course, I'm like, I need my people to also do this. So I'm like, I got to lead by example and start doing this, and I start putting my staff in front of the camera. Of course, everybody's embarrassed and what's going on, and start building branding over time. So that's really and it's funny from if I go back to that time to today, the amount of engagement and people that out there, because how they always say the first thing they do is like, everybody like, what, he's laughing at me. Like, what's this guy doing? It's amusing to like, what is he trying to do? I don't even know what to show. Like, this is weird. And 7 months later, I'm having some of the people in the industry for 30, 40 years, C-level people approaching me, people telling me, great job, I like what you do. And people coming on my Real Talk program, which my following is the demographic is just my industry, which is very small, and nobody in my industry.
I want to pause on that because people get confused. Like, that's such an important distinction. Like, this is not about going viral. This is not about becoming famous and being like, and getting on Ellen. Like, this is about making connection to the community you want to be a part of and leading it. And so, your audience on Real Talk should be, and hopefully will continue to deepen, in the people in your line of work, in components. And that's who you want to be hanging out with anyway. And so some people get scared. They're like, oh, I don't know. I have to market this. I'm like, it's not about that. They're missing the point. And this is what I love hearing you just claim it, because you have a unique voice in that industry now.
Yeah, I have a unique voice, which I didn't know I had a voice, but I'm creating something that from all the people of course, we all love positive affirmation, but it's just building awareness. And again, I am not selling anything. I didn't go on to this thing to sell. I just said for myself, every person I interview or have a podcast with is like a book, right? I ask them questions. I understand what they're doing, their experiences, and everybody wants to know who's the leadership in the industry. Who are these companies? What's the trials and tribulations, successes, and how did they become this person? And it's fascinating to understand that. It's really fascinating, and I think it's not done enough, especially in my industry. And nobody in the industry, of course, audio podcasts, I've been around for years, right? But today, our psyches and everything, we're attracted to video. Video is much more engaging. The human connection is there because you can't get human connection over audio.
Not the same way.
Not the same way. Your tonalities aren't the same. Because you have interaction, like me and you have interaction. We have our hands. We have a nonverbal. All this interaction builds human connection. I can see you. I can smile, and these are things that can be a recorded 30-second, 1-minute clip, but it's authentic.
So let me ask you this: you said 7 months. Has Real Talk been 7 months?
Real Talk started in March. Actually, no, it didn't. It didn't start in March. I started doing content. The Real Talk podcast officially started on Father's Day.
That's right. Because your dad was
my father.
So how many podcasts have you done since then?
20.
And what has been your experience from, what has happened?
I've learned a lot, of course. I've learned a lot, but what's happened is the engagement has come in. The people around, of course, in the beginning, everybody says that people aren't just going to start coming to you. You have to go out and network with them. Say, hey, I love what you do, and I want to bring people on the show. Of course, I brought people in a close network that I knew, and I'm like, I'd love to bring you on the show. I love to discuss things about you in industry, in supply chain, engineering, technology, and also my show is 70% industry, 30% lifestyle. Lifestyle can everything go into there because I had Alec on. He's lending, but he's what he's done for marketing and digital marketing space for me is unbelievable. And he's really showing it every day, showing up. I mean, he's showing up every day doing it and being selfless of showing the strengths and all the things on how to dig in and all the secrets behind it. It's not a secret, actually. It's just making it simple. Yes. You can buy this, you can do this, you can have this, and as you guys probably, some of you know, I've seen Alex's studio. It's unbelievable, but I'm like, how did you do this? I mean, it blows you away at the infrastructure by looking behind the scenes, like, and then it looks on the screen like, oh my God, it doesn't take that much.
No, and to your point earlier, it all starts with just a phone. For everybody, it starts with just a phone and a willingness to be on the camera. And so I want to ask you this question. I've seen more and more of your employees making content now. Has that been organic? Have you been pushing them? What are any experiences they're having, they're relaying to you? Like, share with everybody that kind of thing.
Yeah, of course. In the beginning, I tried to share everything with that, and we did some practices. I told everybody, hey, let's go for 10 days. Let's do problem solution, especially salespeople. Let's just record yourself with a problem solution, with a customer challenge, and just record it every day for a minute. Don't put it out there. I don't want you to put it out there. I want you to get comfortable in front of it, because at the end of the day, people are connecting with you because you have because they can go anywhere online and buy that one component from anybody else. At the end of the day, they like to connect with a human connection, someone that builds value in who they are and being authentic. And you can sell them with just being yourself and your personality. Then they can go anywhere else to buy them.
I just want every mortgage professional that hears this or watches this later or listens to this to understand the point that Rob just made. He's working in components. Like you can buy them from 1,000 places, right? And you, as a mortgage professional, you sell not only a product like a mortgage, but you sell a service and a consultation that goes along with that. And listen to Rob talking about his salespeople, like humanizing the process, making human connections so they buy components from them. And it's so crazy that it's the same thing. It's the same thing. Like, people do business with people they like and that they know and that they trust.
It's a simple formula. And again, I didn't know. I was naive to it. I tried different things, building fancy websites, investing. Of course, that stuff does help for image, but at the end of the day, it's the DNA of who they're doing business with and who's calling them on the. And of course, if you have some branding, you put on and you call someone, oh, I remember that name. They will give you the 30 seconds or 1 minute to even engage with them. If they never saw the name, it's building the awareness and doing it indirectly by educating them, by showing them something that they don't know, and just having fun with it, that this person is real. It isn't that it's just someone calling on the phone, telecommute. It's like, make the calls like, hey, what do you do? Does it your mortgage industry, or you need components or whatever it is. It's there's so much. I mean, we're a small potato company compared to these billion-dollar companies, and they have the branding. They have multi-million dollars of funding for marketing. We don't.
But this is what I tell loan officers. Like, they're going up against Quicken, who's running Super Bowl ads, spending tens of millions of dollars year over year building consumer brand recognition. And a loan officer's like, well, what do? You do this stuff. You do exactly what Rob did with his business.
Yeah, you build the human connection. And of course, let's go back to how the employees took it. I started making them do the phones, and I wanted, first started with taking a photo, what you're doing, show your daily routines, put something fun, something educational about you, right? You like sports, you like, theater, you like music, whatever it is, and put it out there. Of course, through COVID, everybody's locked down, and LinkedIn, again, is one of our major platforms these days, because everybody in the B2B business
but I don't care if you're B2B, like, there's just humans there.
The humans,
there's humans there. It's an awesome platform. I cannot push people more strongly into LinkedIn.
And you know what the best part? It's free.
Shocker. By the way, so there's premium. There's a premium.
Yeah.
But I didn't have premium until like last year. I did everything without the premium because I was like, why do I need the stupid premium thing? It just gives you the check mark. And then literally it does. There's nothing else to it. There's nothing else besides a check mark. Except maybe you can email somebody you don't know, which is like, that's rude.
Yeah. I mean, giving free is only limited amount of prospecting you can do if you want to do that and look up people. But I mean, I think it's, I don't know, $79.90. I don't know what, it's something like in that range, that return on investment as being a loan officer or a component salesperson or whatever it is, that ROI is priceless.
Right.
That who you have that. I mean, I think there's over 600 million people now on LinkedIn. And in my industry alone, there's 6 million people in engineers, technology. That's 6 million people. And out of that, I'm like, wow.
You only want a couple of those million.
We don't need it. We don't need that many. You know, as I said, it's not about the quantity. Also, it's the quality, because you can't do business with everybody. But it's just getting the awareness. At the end of the day, it's building awareness, touching the person, having touch points. How can I have more touch points without, because it is the email, we send emails out, we do phone calls, we try to do, but putting
that stuff's not as relevant anymore.
Yeah.
It's not as relevant anymore. Everyone gets a million emails. It's fine. Like, we don't want that anymore. What we want is something more authentic, more connecting, more real and raw. You know, we don't want to have a canned email that we know you buttered up for us.
Correct. So with my employees, they started posting pictures first. They started doing that, and now globally, it's interesting. My Asia staff, especially my Philippines team and my India team, they took this, they just went into it. They dug in, and so just like you say, dig in, and they start creating content. One of my country managers, she creates content. They did a whole office opening, how they opened their office with the staff, what's going on. You know, they have to do all, these are things that showing that we are humans. We all care about our people and what we're doing. And myself too, I think the first 5 weeks, or actually I did 12 weeks, one video a week about the current status of our company, where are we going, how our people are working.
Internal messaging.
And I did it external. I sometimes took those videos and just threw them on LinkedIn to say, hey, this is how our company's working. We have all our operations, except for, as I say, our Hong Kong and China was the only ones that really didn't shut down for that long. Everywhere else has been shut down, like we're in the US for 4 or 5 months, 50, and then Asia, India, Philippines, Singapore, we're all feeling the same thing, going through the same challenges at the same time. So if you can really relate to that and put that down and share it, you'll be amazed the amount of engagement you can get.
Well, here's something that I'd love for you to address, and anecdotally, experientially, marketing has always had this underlying like ROI component, right? So like you talk marketing, and people are like, well, what's the ROI? I'm going to do the trade show. What's the ROI? What's the spend? It's going to cost this much money. What do I think I can get out of it? And even trade shows have been hard to position an ROI. Like, what is it? And in digital, real talk, podcasting, content creation, messaging, internally and externally, how would you define the ROI of those efforts? How would you say this has been the return on my investment? What has been the return? And I don't mean necessarily dollars. No. What break it down for people who because everyone's like, well, you're running a podcast. What's the ROI?
Well, let's break it down to what I said in the beginning. As I said, I wanted to expand my US presence and branding, how I wanted to reach and touch people for about 3 to 4 years. I'm like, how can I do this without all these big budgets? Yeah. And the digital aspect let me do something and touch more people than trade shows and anything I want to do by just building a brand digitally, right? Building the awareness of who we are, what we stand for. Of course, we have our services and what we do but we're not selling that. We're just trying to build who we are, what we do, and how we do it, and the people behind it, right? The people behind it. So it wasn't all about the podcast, but the touch points. I would say today, we've probably have, in the last 7 months, if you want to say that, probably have 100 more key customers that we've built relationships. Be thousands of eyes are on us, but about 100 more customers have come in that we've starting to build new relationships, even during the time of COVID.
You see, this is I love this story, everybody, because it's such a direct parallel to you as a loan professional, me in my career trying to grow the Loan Depot franchise and meet good people. I mean, it's such a parallel experience from selling components to selling loans. Marketing now is about connection and real human relationships, and not about a fancy booth or a cool mailer or a catchy tagline. Like, that stuff had its day and it's gone. Yeah. I'd even argue that, commercials and all that stuff, unless it's Gary Vee's always like, commercials are garbage now, unless it's the Super Bowl, because then people pay him a lot of money to do the Super Bowl commercials. Yeah. But, it's like, I think that world ended, and I think people are still trying to play it and not realizing that there's this whole other space out here to jump into.
There is. I mean, you just have to be, as you say, be where the people are at, right? Be where the people are at. You got to network where the people are at. And right now, in the last the COVID has caused the pandemic to everything go digital. So we need to be where the people are at. So if it matter if you're in Facebook or in Instagram or in LinkedIn, you go where the people are at within that network to be able to build your brand associations. And when they need something or they reach out, they have that thought of that person, or they recognize that brand and that person together. Say, hey, you know what? I want to reach out and, I'm going to give you an opportunity. I have a question for you, about a loan or about a component or about an engineer. And then that's where it all starts.
Yep. So there's a guy named Ted Rubin who I've been following on Twitter forever. Interesting branding, marketing guy, kind of a guru type esque person. And he has had this thing that has stuck with me for, I got to say, maybe 5 years plus. I can't even remember. It's just always burned in my mind. And he literally puts down ROI and just says, don't talk about ROI. ROI is garbage. He talks about ROR, which he says is return on relationship.
Relationships.
Return on relationship versus the return on investment.
Yeah.
The return on relationship is where the real success happens. Because to your point, like Rob, sometimes you don't want to work with certain customers. Yeah. They might be great. They might give you a lot of money, but they might tear down your organization and be a cultural nightmare and all that. You might want to push them to the side. So it's all about relationship, even if you're selling components.
Yeah. I don't think whatever you're selling, of course, every customer is not for you. And it's hard to tell that sometimes to the sales account that we have, but they don't want to hear it. But at the end of the day, you want to fit in somewhere where there's value built and where we both contribute together and build value as there's a customer and the customer relationship, and it builds a long term. Again, we're not here for one deal, one transaction. We're here for the long term, because also what it builds is referral, right?
Yeah.
In our industry, it's a small industry as well. I mean, there's a lot of engineers, buyers, commodity managers, and there's a word of mouth, right? It's like, oh, I had a great experience with them. Once you guys tried to go to IBS for this component, or to go for this, or they go to other companies, they switch jobs to another factory. And that word of mouth for us was the most successful thing for us in Asia when we grew from the 80s, 90s, 2000s. But then it got more challenging because, now we're very well, but in the States, we didn't really have that as much. So that's the thing, is to build the referral, build the service, and build the education. Again, I'm not trying to sell anybody. I'm trying to educate of who we are, what we do, the service provider. At the end of the day, they can decide, but just earning the seat at the table to get the opportunity is all I ask for.
That is like the defining, if I could get every loan professional out there to hear that and understand that point, that's the goal. Like, you could have the most knowledge and be the best consultant and be the best person to talk to that customer. But if you don't earn a seat at the table, they're going to do a loan somewhere else. Dude. Okay. So you might not have a good answer for this part, but I want to ask kind of a pivot a little bit.
Okay.
So you're 7 months into content creation, evolved into a podcast, 20 episodes in on the podcast. So I can tell you're in the fluidity of the whole thing, but where do you see this going for you? Do you have a short-term goal, long-term goal? Or are you just like, I'm just going by, I don't even know what I'm doing. I'm just trying to experientially do this.
There were certain goals that I have, of course. My goal was to do 50 podcasts, but then the thing to build, to me, it's like, I have to put the reps in to take the training wheels off to understand the process of this and to build the awareness, but also is to bring on real key influencers, thought leaders in the industry to learn from and to build that value. And the last couple episodes that I've done with some people that have been in the industry 40 years, they've really, so like, they just keep telling me, this is, as a positive, keep doing what you're doing. Don't change, right? Don't change. You are onto something. And the challenge that some of these people, because I reach out, don't get me wrong, I reach out to a lot of C-level people to get them on the podcast, but there's a fear. They're like, who is this?
Why?
And the thing is, because we're the new generation. There's a fear of that because they don't know what's going on, and they're like, how are they doing this? How can they build so much awareness? And for us, compared to different industries, one thing that was a big awareness, like, who are the leaders of all these big companies? Mm-hmm. You don't see the messaging from them like you do in different industries. The leaders aren't very outspoken. Today, a lot of leaders are, I want to work for that company because that leader is inspirational, right? In the components industry, the leaders aren't the face. It's really the brand and this account mount or the components they sell, like the Texas Instruments or like Motorola or these type of things, Samsung. Those are they associate them with the brand and those components they have. They don't actually associate them with the leader. And I'm like, well, the generations are changing. There's succession happening. In 5 to 10 years, a lot of the boomers and people are going to succeed, and who's going to take their spot?
Yeah.
And they have to lead, and also at least take that wisdom that these people have learned and built these very successful business and share it with the new generation. And I don't see it happening. So that for me is building a platform to give everybody, I think, to, hey, the wisdom is out there, the technology, innovation. How can I build this and spread the awareness out there for everybody to give them a platform to do?
Love it, dude. Love it missionally. Love where it's heading. So let me do this. You covered it a little bit before, but I really want to have you just answer this question so everyone can hear you loud and clear. When you decided to make the leap, when you were like, I'm going to start documenting, I'm going to use my phone, I'm going to start documenting. Go through your experience again. Go through, did you get any negativity? What was that like? Share with everybody like the real, like what made you keep going? Was there positive affirmation? Just like what experientially, like, it's because I know there's so many people on the fence right now in my industry, in the world, that are just like, should I do it? Should I get into this space? And so you decided to make the leap. Walk everybody through your exact experience.
I will. Well, it actually starts from the beginning of our lives in school and stuff. I was, it's the, as you say, it's the security and being insecure, right? I was never the most secure person. I went through stuff in school. I always got myself into some type of activity to fit in, right? So I was always trying to fit in, and the camera, and I don't know if the way I looked, I didn't like the way I looked, the way I sound. My skin is brown, it does, these types of things that come in that you feel like you're not part of the group or part of this, and that's really what builds when you come older. So when I wanted to put myself in front of the camera,
all that stuff came back up.
It came back up, and my insecurities came back up. The challenges I face, people trying to make fun of me, people say, I look like this. It was from childhood. You look like this or do like this. I was, I'm a Middle Eastern, and I had a lot of, mustache when I was, so now I have a beard, but I have a peach, these things that honestly come back, and it takes us from childhood to today. I'm in my 40s, and now I still remember those things. But as I said, how do we overcome those challenges and just, step forward, step out of that box? And there's much more to it. So for me, I started taking the risk. Putting the phone, and of course I got nervous like everybody else. You put that phone in front of you, you get nervous, and all the words, especially you might be a great presenter. Like I can speak in front of my team, my staff, and I just lost it. Some people have it naturally. Alec has put in the reps, and I think he has it naturally, but because you're fantastic in front of the camera.
So I'm going to call out BS on this and share a little tangent, because I hear the same thing all the time. Like, well, I just can't speak like this, and I'm like, okay, here's what you do. I want you to get in your car every morning, and we can't really drive to work, but pretend. Right. And I want you to put the camera on a little thing on your dashboard, and I want you to hit record, and I want you to talk to that camera for 275 episodes.
What's 275?
Something like that. I want you to do it for 3 to 5 minutes. 3 to 5 minutes record, and just talk to the camera about the topic that's on your mind for 3 to 5 minutes, 275 times. And then when you get on a podcast or someone's like, get on a video, you won't freak out as much. Yeah. But you, Rob, you're putting the reps in. Like that's the best answer.
Like, putting the reps. So you put the reps in. I had to put the reps in. I had to take that from. I didn't have technology. I didn't know what I do. I didn't know photo edits. I didn't even know how to video editing. I didn't even know all this, the filters and this and that. I wasn't very savvy on that, and I was learning it as I was going. And I was trying to figure this out. And I had my marketing guys. I'm like, we have to figure this out. Okay. I mean, trust me, I try to buy equipment, like $50 mic, a Bluetooth microphone. I always consulted with you too. It's like, and it was very challenging. I'm like,
I want to go back and get this question answered. Did you get any negativity from anybody?
From that?
Who gave you crap?
Honestly, the only people that give me crap is my friends and the family around me.
That's the worst thing ever? Like everyone thinks that, the trolls or and it's not them. It ends up being people who are close to us, who we love and who love us, who just dig the nail in a little bit.
You can have 99 likes and 1 negative, and that 1 negative will ruin those 99 likes for you, which is something that we have to get over. And like that's just not how it is.
So you got negative feedback from family and friends, and how did you deal with it?
Of course, insecurities came over me, and I was like, forget them. I'm just going to go ahead. I'm going to steamroll this. Of course, I did read a lot. I watched a lot of the people, of course, Gary V, the latest people out there, yourself that was doing it. I'm like, there are people, these are my friends. I have a close friend of mine doing it. He's just doing it. He doesn't have fear. And the best thing that you did is just guiding people. So just put yourself out there. You've always, as I said, you've always discussed these type of challenges, is the insecurities of people. People don't care. They're actually, I mean, in my opinion, there's sometimes jealousy because you're doing something they're not. They're not in the party. They're not putting themselves on video. And like, I want to do that. How do I get on Facebook Live or LinkedIn Live or Twitter, or make a vlog, or these type of things I want to do. But at the end of the day, you just have to take that risk and get over what the negative feedback is, because within 3 months, I did get over it. I learned.
Yeah.
And I kept pushing forward. Of course, everybody, listening to this is like, how did it feel? Like, do you keep, I think positive affirmation. And then I realized I put in my mindset, don't worry about the affirmation. Just keep being who you are. The people will watch. There's a lot of people watching, and they will be there, and it keeps coming. So now wherever I go, it's funny. 7 months later, everybody remembers, I saw that episode. I saw that clip. I never even knew they engaged with it. I didn't even know anything. I'm like, I love what you said. I love the message there. I listened to this, and I'm like, wow. And it's coming from those people that were laughing at me, which were my close friends in the beginning. And now they're actually applauding me. Like, that's amazing.
And next, they're going to ask for your help. I mean, that's the circle of life right there, my friend. Kyle, you do need to get a good wood backdrop. You're way behind. We're crushing you in the content game. You need to have wood paneling. But or else you can't do it. Can you really do a podcast if you don't have wood paneling? I think the answer is you can't. So barrier to entry.
Hey, my theme came from you. So,
but that's so true. Like, and I'll share this for people that are listening and maybe trying to figure out if they can poke your head into this world. Here's another way to put reps in, and it's kind of weird and nerdy, but I love it. So when Saurabh and I hang out, we have a couple other people in our little squad, and we tend now, because Max is a maniac, he brings a mixing board, we hook it up, and instead of just sitting around having bourbons and shooting the breeze, we have microphones and headsets on, and we're sitting around drinking bourbons, shooting the breeze in like a podcast style environment.
Correct.
And I know that, look, someone's like, oh God, I'm never doing that. And I'm like, look, it's putting the reps in. Like we're getting used to hearing your own voice and being natural and having a microphone here and talking into it so you can hear everybody. And it's not, and again, everyone thinks you're going to go get famous. It's not about getting famous. Even the people that laughed at me and the same people that laughed at you for trying to do this kind of stuff, it's like, no, they don't understand. I'm not trying to go viral. I'm not trying to be the next Joe Rogan. Like, that's not the purpose of this. The purpose of this is to have some fun and connect with other people and get my message out in the world. It's marketing. I used to drop flyers. That was my marketing. Now it's this. And this is way more fun.
And that analogy and what you've done is, as I said, leaders lead by example, and you're trying to lead and also show them the way and do it being selfless with it. I mean, you are doing it week over week. You're showing all your team, all the people, and the public how to do it, and saying this isn't rocket science, guys. But, these are and put in the reps. And just like you said with our good friend Max, he's putting in the reps. He brought a mixing board. He didn't know how it worked. So he's trying to figure it out. And we did 3 or 4 of them, and he figured out this mixing board, how the sound works. So we put in the reps and we did it internally, but now he's like, okay, now I can use this externally because I figured out how it works. Again, you get a new gadget or you get a new camera. How do I use it? How does it look? How am I going to look? You're like, I just don't want to go live or use this. I'm going to look like a fool because nothing's going to work right. So he's putting in the reps. Before he uses that piece of equipment. So it can give the best presentation or best sound or best quality. But again, that's the time is you have to put in those reps and the experience. And again, you go around and have friends and, family, of course, friends and family always most supportive, but sometimes they can say what is he doing? What are they spending money on?
Yeah,
but
it's not necessarily friends and family that talk crap on you. They just kind of poke. Why are you doing that? Like, what? It's not
talk crap. It's like, what is he doing? Is that real? What is he doing? It's like, it's not, why? Because it's not in the square, right? We have a square. We're not fitting in the square model of how everything's supposed to be. We're not fitting in the square. So when it's outside the box or outside the square, what is that? What's going on here? I don't understand.
So, Rob, I got a good challenge for you at the 40-minute mark, but I have a challenge for you and your company. Okay. I have a challenge. I want to see if you're willing to do this with your group, because you're all over. You're international, and I did this impromptu. So I hosted my first ever digital virtual sales rally. And I learned with Mikey how to do a virtual stage and how camera changes, and you saw some of it. So it's all you. And one of the things I had to do, because I had to buy time, I went too fast. I needed to I had 10 minutes of dead time, and that's death in a virtual event. In a live event, you get up, throw frisbees, give away stuff, but in a virtual event, it's like, we're dead. So I did this, and I want to challenge you to do this with your entire company. I said, look, everybody has their phone right here, right? And you go to Facebook and you open it up, and there's a little button in the upper left right here, upper right, that says live, right? So everyone had their phone up and on Zooms, and I said, okay, here's what I want you to do. I want you to, we're all going to take, right now, we're all going to stop right now. You're going to hit the live button, and you're going to film 1 minute minimum of a message of gratitude to somebody in your business life or personal life, just to say thank you. A mentor, a business partner, a customer, a past customer, somebody who has helped you in need, a family member, just a minute of gratitude. We're all 600 of us, we're going to push out live a minute of gratitude. And number one, everybody got, peer pressured into it because we're all going. And I know people didn't do it, and that's, of course, but I got so many people came back with a message of, I didn't die. It was actually kind of fun. I go back and look, and there's hundreds of comments. There's thousands of views on some of these, because they're people are like, oh, you're beautiful. I miss you. How are you? Thank you for the message. It is incredibly cool. And I bet if you got everybody at IBS Electronics to do a minute of live gratitude at the same time, if you can wing it with all the crazy times, I watched the IBS gratitude just hit the industry. I think it would rock everybody. But that's my challenge to you and your team next, to see if you can hang it.
We are, which is funny, is we're going to do, because it's actually our 40th year next month, so we're going to do a little internal celebration, right? And I'm going to do a little bit of an internal rally using some of the things similar to what you used, and I wrote it down. I'm gonna pull this off, and I'm gonna share this, and I think that, Alec, it's sometimes you say you're paving the path of this, but that type of messaging, of gratitude, of thanking, of being out there, it goes a long way.
Well, you've echoed this, and I have to make sure everyone hears you, because you've said it 3 times in the podcast. When you come out and do a podcast or a video, or you put your message into the world, it's never about selling. You've been so clear on that. It's always about giving. It's always about sharing. It's always about collaborating, and it's never about selling. And all of a sudden, when I ask people to push a button and say something to thank somebody, it wasn't as scary anymore to be on camera, live on Facebook. Yeah. And when everybody frames their messaging like you have, and you just start giving into the world and not expecting, an ROI, some stupid 80s BS, the impact you have is magnified intensely.
I 100% agree. And that challenge it's funny, is everybody's afraid to put something on, but it seems like in our personal life, the Facebook or the Instagrams, people take stories of themselves, of their families, of what they do and where they go. There's no, embarrassment. They're okay, I guess. But when it comes to, I think, professional life, they're very afraid to share that there. I'm like, well, you guys are already doing it. Why don't you just move it to another platform? Yeah, you don't have to share everything. Just take little nips and bits of it, what you're doing, and share it. Family, business, going to work, what you did, a customer, something, whatever you're doing, and share that. And of course, you know how to use Instagram or Facebook, and you curate it or edit the video yourself. So you should just take that and move it over there.
All right, so we're hitting the end here. Here's the final question. I know it's crazy. Here's the final question I got to ask you. Let's put you in front of a lone professional who is deciding whether or not to go all in on digital. They've heard a bunch of stuff. They're like, I don't know. I kind of in a couple sentences, right? Like a couple quick hits. Like, why should they do it? What are they going to experience? What do you got for them?
First thing is, you need to be where all the people are at. You need to be where they're reading information and watching information. The second thing is, what comes from there is building the awareness and building who you could be and what you can do of relating. And that's the number one thing, is you get to relate to the customer base. And now that it comes back, as I said, as the insecurities come back, because you will start getting affirmation, you'll start getting likes, people start watching this thing. It turns into a whole 360 machine. And as a loan officer or as a sales agent or whatever you're in, these things going on digital will build the branding. Right now, we can't touch anybody. How do we reach out and touch somebody, right? We can't reach out. So building a digital brand, putting your face with the name, putting the face with the family, who you have behind you, who you're supporting, who your group is. All this stuff really relates to the customer. They want to know they can trust you. You come from somewhere, you have a background, and they engage with you. And that whole 360 will build, and you'll build your confidence over and over. But again, it's putting in the reps, going digital. It doesn't take a lot of money. You can use it from a cell phone, and that will come. And as I said, be organic, be original. Don't have to curate everything. Just be yourself, and you'll be. How many people will be attracted to authentic people that are just themselves?
That's it. Man, I so appreciate you. Love being on this journey with you, my brother. You're awesome. Congratulations.
No,
on what you've been doing.
Thank you, Alec, for everything. Thank you for what you're doing for the industry, all the industries. Everybody's following you, and you're selfless. Your personality is contagious, and I love it. And thank you for having me on your show, and hope to do more of these with you.
You're the man. I will see you later, my brother. Everybody else, peace out.
See you guys.